The NBA trade deadline has come and gone, but Blue Collar Sports is here to stay. We appreciate you guys tuning in today, however you tune in, whether it's through Twitter, through Radio FX. We are glad to be here today. We are Blue Collar Sports. I'm your co-host, Seth Newville, joined here with co-host Trevor Brenlin. We are every Tuesday, Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. And like I just mentioned, we do have a Twitter that is at Blue Collar SR. The B, C, the S, and the R are all capitalized. And we also have an Instagram, which is Blue Collar Sports with underscore after blue and underscore after collar. So definitely go check those out. We got lots of videos, postings, and of course our live shows are on there as well. We appreciate you guys tuning in today.
Thanks for tuning in today, Seth. I'm ready to get to it. Blue Collar Sports live on a Thursday, our 98th show ever. We're closing in on the big 100, so can't wait for that next week. Week from today is Valentine's Day, also our 100th show. It's going to be a great day. But I'm excited to get to it. NBA trade deadline today. Last show on Tuesday was all about the Super Bowl, but I'm ready to get to some NBA talk as we get today.
Yeah, trade deadline was gone. It officially wrapped up just exactly an hour ago. Pretty busy, lots going on, but the big deal did not go through, and that is Anthony Davis. He will stay a member of the New Orleans Pelicans at least for the rest of this season. And while there were reports, and we're going to have plenty more on this later on in the show, trust me on that. So we're not going to talk about that specifically right now, but there is reports that he will play for the Pelicans for the rest of the year. There were reports earlier that said he might sit out for the rest of the year, but he will play, which I think makes them a legit playoff contender. I think they can get back into the picture. But we're going to focus on that trade more. We got lots of details coming up on that later on in today's show once we get to our debate. But Trevor, let's talk about some of the other big deals that happened around the league today.
Yeah, you're right. The big deal for AD did not go through for the Lakers. We'll see what happens in the offseason. Like you said, we got more on that later in the show. So we'll save for that for the end. Best for last today on Blue Collar Sports. But let's get to it. Let's get some of the big moves. And I got one that happened a couple days ago or yesterday. The first one, let's start off with the Philadelphia Sixers. They added Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic, hard to say,
Seven-footer.
From the Clippers for
guy.
Wilson Chandler, Mike Muscala, who ended up being traded, we'll get to, and 2 first-round picks. So the Sixers, who made another move we're going to get to in a sec, they added Tobias Harris and Boban, the 7-footer. And I think Tobias Harris has had a great year this year. Could have been an all-star last year, and I think he's a very good fit for the Sixers team.
Yeah, I kind of have a different take on this than a lot of people do, and I love Tobias Harris. I've always been a big fan of Tobias Harris' game. He's a growing star. He's a lot younger than I thought, too. When I heard Tobias, I've watched him play over the years. I thought he was a veteran, but he just turned 26. He was 19 when he left Tennessee. But it's a great trade in that he fits. You look at the 76ers starting 5 now. They made another big deal, which we'll get to in a bit. But you look at their starting 5 now. They got Ben Simmons, J.J. Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. That is a great starting 5.
It is.
But why I think this deadline was a loss for the Philadelphia 76ers is I don't have them in front of Boston still. I still have them behind Toronto, and I still have them behind Milwaukee. That's 4th in the East. I think they lose in the second round of the playoffs this year. You look at this offseason, Tobias Harris is a free agent. Jimmy Butler is a free agent. There's a chance you could lose both of these guys, and you just traded your future, you traded picks, you traded your previous number 1 pick, which we'll get to here in a sec. But they took a lot. It's a risk reward here. If they make a run, which they could make a run at the finals. I think their lineup is good enough to contend with anyone in the East. But if they don't, and I think they won't because I don't trust Ben Simmons yet, and I don't trust Joel Embiid yet, so I don't think they're going to make it. And if they don't, I think there's a good chance Tobias is gone. I think there's a good chance Jimmy's gone. And now you're stuck right back to rebuilding with you still have Ben and Joel, but it's still a different situation. I think it's a loss for a deadline for Philly.
It's absolutely a huge risk for Philly here. They're definitely they're showing that they're going all in for right now. If they could go far, they want to re-sign these guys in Tobias and Jimmy Butler. And since we're talking about the Sixers, let's stay with them right now. They also added Jonathan Simmons, a first-round pick and a second-round pick from the Orlando Magic, for former first overall pick Markelle Fultz. So they finally move on from Markelle Fultz. That whole situation was a disaster. But in return, they get a nice bench player, Jonathan Simmons, who I think can fit well.
Their bench is pretty weak.
Yeah, I think Simmons will be a very nice player off the bench. They did get rid of their first-round picks when they traded to the Clippers, but they added one back here from the Magic, so that's not a bad deal at all. So, yeah, they definitely lost a lot from that first overall pick. The whole situation was not good at all, but it's a good new spot for Markel in Orlando. They're going to be patient with him. It's not a place where he's got to go in there and beat a guy right away and win games. He's got a long time to develop there. And for the Sixers, it just adds another piece for them to win right now because Markel's not helping them on the court right now. So they want to go in all right now. And I think it's, like you said, a big risk for the Sixers. But I think they have a shot. For me, I think they're my second favorite team in the East. I have them right behind Boston, in front of Toronto, and
Wow.
in front of Milwaukee. So I think Philly, if they do very well in the Eastern Conference Finals, then we'll see if they can sign Tobias or Jimmy. If they make it to the NBA Finals, which I believe they do have a shot, and now a different Eastern Conference with no LeBron, I think they definitely have a good shot at signing both of them. So we'll see what happens, but I do think it's a huge risk, and I think it's a good risk to take for the Sixers right now.
Yeah, they're definitely surprised me that they were one of the busier teams this trade deadline. I really did not see that
I didn't
coming.
expect it. Their big trade was Jimmy Butler, which they had already made.
Right,
So
which was earlier in the year. So
Right.
that's 3 big-time trades they've made this season alone.
And Elton Brand's their new GM, who
Yeah.
is his first year as a general manager, who's
Same
always
lady.
been playing in the league. So right now, he's my pick for executive of the year. I know it's a big risk for these moves,
Yeah.
but he's made this team a lot better.
It is pretty remarkable and sad to see the story of Markelle Fultz. I'm glad that he is in a new place, though. He's in a new place. Orlando has no point guards. That is the one thing this team's been missing. They are big-time, big-oriented with just drafted Mo Bamba. Jonathan Isaac was their pick the year before. Nikola Vucevic is their all-star center. So they have a lot. Aaron Gordon's there as well. A lot of good bigs, but they have no guards. So I think this gives them an opportunity to grow. But, I mean, you look at the Sixers now. This is your number 1 pick overall last year in a draft that included Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, which I know a lot of people passed on Donovan Mitchell.
Right.
And those 2 guys are franchise players. It's pretty remarkable to me that all of a sudden 1 year later you are trading a guy that you took before Tatum, before Mitchell, before Lonzo, before De'Aaron Fox, who's having a great year, before all those guys, and acquiring a good, I'm not trying to bash on Jonathan Simmons, but to acquire just a good
player.
utility player and a couple picks, it's pretty remarkable to me.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate event that the Sixers had to go through. I said it from when the draft happened. I thought Jason Tatum would have been my number 1 pick. I didn't think the Celtics should have traded back, and they should have just traded Jason at number 1. But Danny Ainge is the man at doing deals, and he was able to go back 2 spots and get the man he wanted all along. So imagine the Sixers team with Jason Tatum. That'd be a whole different story. But that, of course, did not happen. They went with Markel, and I just hope Markel is able to figure his stuff out, become a really good player. I really hope he does. But the Sixers situation just never worked out, and it's time to move on.
It is, but they make some big-time moves. They are the one thing, the big winner for me is the Eastern Conference here. All 4 teams, we talked about last show how 4 teams we believe in the Eastern Conference can contend. And that's the Sixers, the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics. 3 of those teams made big-time deals today. Celtics stayed quiet, but we expected that. But now there's reports. Enes Kanter has been bought out by the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
There are reports that the Celtics emerge as the favorite and may be working on a deal shortly to acquire, so they could get better there. But out of all these teams make deals. The Raptors acquire Marc Gasol from the Grizzlies for C.J. Miles, Jonas Valanciunas, DeLon Wright, who I do like. I like DeLon Wright. And a future, I believe, second-round pick.
In 2024.
And a 2024 second-round pick for Marc Gasol.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like this deal for Toronto?
I really do like this deal. Jonas Valanciunas is a very nice player. He's been, great for Toronto for so many years, but Marc Gasol is an upgrade for sure. And I was talking to you before. I really haven't been watching Marc Gasol because no one's really watching the Grizzlies this year. But if he's able to be the old Marc Gasol, the veteran center, he plays basketball in a very smart way.
Passes well for a center.
Very good, probably the best passing center in the league, I'd say. I think he fits very well for Toronto. Kawhi, smart player, not the scorer, but is very good at passing, great defense, and Kyle Lowry's a very smart player too. So the Toronto's really trying to make a very high IQ team here, and Marc Gasol, I think, is going to fit a great role for Toronto, brings experience, so does Kawhi already, so they're trying to get over that hump that Raptors have not been able to get to, and Marc Gasol brings an edge that will help them get there.
Yeah, what really surprises me, or what not as surprised me, I think that's a great deal for Toronto. I liked this deal. They're definitely going all out on this season to try to keep Kawhi around for the future. But what's going to be interesting now to watch is how Toronto uses Marcus Saul. They were using Jonas Valanciunas off the bench. They got into a rhythm starting Pascal Siakam, who's had a great year, perhaps most improved player of the year, at the power forward, and Serge Ibaka at the center. But now you bring in Marcus Saul, who's obviously much better than Jonas Valanciunas. It's going to be interesting. Who do you move here to the bench? Do you move Serge back to the power forward and put Siakam off the bench? Do you sit down with Serge and tell him he's going to come off the bench? Or, I mean, I think Marcus Saul is going to have to be a starter.
Yeah.
You go out and get him like this. So do you go Serge or you go Siakam?
I like Serge at the starting spot. Siakam's a very nice player. He's still young, and I think he can learn for both Serge and Mark. Being on the bench for both of them, he's been playing fantastic, but he's going to be one of the best six-mans or bench players in the league right now, now with Marcus Saul addition. And Serge is another very smart player who plays the right way, great at defense. So you're setting yourselves up for a very smart starting five for the Raptors. And having Siakam off the bench, I think, is a very good addition. So I think Toronto, they upgraded at the deadline, and I really like what they are doing. They're my third favorite team in the East right now.
Yeah, Toronto got better, that's for sure. Another team that got better that has the current best record in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks. They acquired power forward Nikola Mirotic from the New Orleans Pelicans. I love this deal a lot. The one thing Milwaukee was kind of missing was that shooting. Giannis isn't a developed shooter yet. Chris Middleton's a fantastic shooter, but that's about all they had. Brogdon's inconsistent. Eric Bledsoe's not known for his shooting. Brook Lopez has become a much better shooter. But now you add Nikola Mirotic. He's going to stretch the floor for you. I mean, you're looking at a starting lineup now of Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Mirotic, Brook Lopez, with Malcolm Brogdon, Tony Snell, John Henson. Those guys off the bench. This team, I have yet to see them in the playoffs with that playoff experience, so I'm not ready to put them with Boston or Toronto yet. But they are definitely up there. What do you think of this deal?
They definitely upgraded at this deal. I still have them as my fourth team in the East. I still trying to earn that trust from them. But you talked about their starting five. It's fantastic. I'm very excited to see what they do. We know how athletic they are, how lengthy they've been playing. Great defensive team. And now they needed that one piece in shooting in Mirotic, who's a very nice sharpshooter. Like you said, could stretch the floor for sure. I could already see Giannis driving down to the rim, kicking it out to Mirotic. It's a great setup here. So I really like what Milwaukee did at the deadline. They traded Jason Smith and Stanley Johnson to the Pelicans. So
it's a steal.
Not too much they had to give up to get Mirotic. So I think Milwaukee's a big winner at the deadline.
Yeah, I definitely have them as a big winner for me. Another big deal of two bottom-end teams in the Eastern Conference that went down last night, I believe.
Yep.
And that involves two former top 5 picks. The Bulls send over Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis to the Washington Wizards for Otto Porter Jr. What do you think of this deal?
I think it's good for Washington to move on from Otto Porter. I would have liked him to see.
I thought they could have got
see
more.
Him somewhere else than Chicago, because Chicago's in a weird spot. They can't win right now. They don't have anybody. Otto's going to be their best player, but they're going to be stuck kind of in there. Above maybe the worst teams, but still not that great of a team. So it was weird to see Otto go into Chicago, but Washington, I don't know. You think Washington could have got more for that?
I think
Jabari's a nice player, but he's not the player that we all thought he would.
Yeah, he has not been. This was supposed to kind of be his breakout year, and he is struggling mightily. Washington's at an interesting spot. The big loser, I think, here is Bradley Beal. He stays put in Washington. A lot of people thought he could go play for contender. They keep him, but I mean, you look at 2 years ago, this team was contending for the Eastern Conference Finals with John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter, Markieff Morris, Marcin Gortat. As of right now, Bradley Beal is the only starter there that is left on that roster. John Wall reports he just ruptured his Achilles. Otto Porter's gone now. Markieff Morris got traded as well, so he's gone. Gortat got dealt in the offseason. So this is a completely different look. They're out of contention. I think I would have liked to see them go get more draft picks instead of Jabari Parker.
Yep.
But, they had to sell somebody.
Yeah, I can't tell what position Washington is in right now. Are they in a rebuild, trading out Otto Porter, keeping Bradley Beal, though? It doesn't really show that. They know John Wall's going to be out for another year, so I just can't figure out what position Washington is trying to take. They're just going to be an average team right now, and they need to figure out if they want to go for it all right now or if they need to set themselves to move on from the Wall-Beal era.
And another big winner, I have a quiet winner today, something to really pay attention to. I think the Los Angeles Clippers were big winners today. They dumped Tobias, this was the other day, but they dumped Tobias Harris's contract, which Tobias Harris is a great player, but they dumped his contract. Avery Bradley has also been dealt to the Memphis Grizzlies. They dumped his contract. They got 2 max spots now available, and we've heard a lot of rumors about players wanting to go to the Clippers.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard's name's been mentioned in there. Anthony Davis had the Clippers on his trade report. So this team could be clearing up space to make a run in free agency. I thought they were quiet winners today.
Yeah, obviously, like the Sixers, they're going all for it right now. The Clippers are going all for it off-season. They're trying to move pieces to get some cap space to acquire big-time free agents. We'll see if it works out. They have to be able to get those guys in the summer. We'll see what happens there. Another key trade that I kind of like, Sacramento Kings adding Harrison Barnes, who got traded during the game last night. They moved on from Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph. They give them to the Dallas Mavericks. So I think the Kings, or I believe the Mavericks, were just trying to get rid of Harrison Barnes' contract, move on from that, and just focus on the Luka and Porzingis era. But for Sacramento, I think Harrison Barnes is a very great player. So I think it's a very good fit. A lot of young pieces in Sacramento, and Harrison Barnes kind of brings that championship mentality. He's won it with Golden State a long ways back before Durant went there, and I think Harrison brings a different culture to the Kings.
I really do think the Kings can sneak into the playoffs. We'll have plenty more on the Lakers here in a bit, so we'll talk about that later. But I think the Clippers got a lot worse today, but I think they did that in a good way, saving money for the offseason. But the Kings, they had Harrison Barnes. I'm starting to like this De'Aaron Fox at point guard. I'm starting to like this roster.
Yeah, I like what the Kings are doing.
With Fox, Buddy Hield has quietly had a great year. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a good player. Now they got Harrison Barnes, kind of be the leader, the veteran. Marvin Bagley. It's a young roster. I do like what the Kings are doing. They had plenty of money to spend, so they had no problem taking up that Harrison Barnes contract. But I thought they were quiet winners as well.
Yeah, you just spoke about the Clippers, how they are big winners this trade deadline. We kind of mentioned the Lakers, and they dealt a trade. The Lakers adding Mike Muscala, who was in the trade with the Sixers the other day. They gave up Michael Beasley and Zubac to the Clippers. So sad to see Zubac go from the Lakers, but they did add Mike Muscala, which is much needs shooting for the Lakers right now. So not the big deal that everyone wanted the Lakers to make. Everyone's going to be upset that they didn't see Anthony Davis.
I'm not upset.
Named or seeing Mike Muscala in the Lakers uniform. So not the day the Lakers wanted.
I'll tell you what. Again, it's our Thursday show, so we will end with our debate today. It's going to be geared around this. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be one of my favorite debates ever. Today is probably one of my favorite deadlines ever because of everything going on. And then we'll talk more about that later. Before we head off to break, I wanted to ask you about that. You touched on a little bit, but Harrison Barnes getting dealt during the game yesterday. I've got a take on this, but I want to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, we saw. I'm pretty sure you saw LeBron's take on Instagram going off on this. I don't really have a problem with it. If, like you said, you mentioned that they told Harrison Barnes before the game that you're likely to be traded where you're in discussions. Do you still want to play? And decided he wanted to play. So, you're doing your job right now, and it's a business. And if you're going to get traded mid-game, then it's going to happen. I know players aren't going to like that. They want to be able to have their voice, but management does their own thing too. It's not always going to be pretty, and I really don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's a business. It is a business. But what LeBron did say, and you could write this down right now, is probably the one time I'll ever agree with LeBron James.
Okay.
But what I did like what he said is he just wants it fair treatment. He talked about how when a player comes out and says he wants to be traded or he wants to be out of an organization, they get called unselfish, ungrateful, etc., etc. But when a team comes out and says they're trying to trade a player, it's because it's a business. They're doing what's best for their franchise. So he wants equal standards in the way it's perceived by the media.
Right.
So for that, I agree with. What I don't agree with is he didn't have the details yet when he posted those. I read a report that, like you said, the Mavericks did meet with Harrison Barnes before this game and said they were aggressively trying to trade him, and they were leaving it up to him. You could play tonight if you want to play, or you could say he chose to play. So I don't think anyone's at fault here. I don't think anyone's angry or upset, and I think both teams are in good situations. Speaking of Dallas, definitely I think a sleeper this offseason. They cleared up a lot of space. Porzingis has a decent deal, but Luka Doncic obviously still on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
They clear Harrison Barnes' contract. I wouldn't be surprised if someone wants to go play with Luka and Kristaps.
Yeah, I could see them going after a shooting guard or a small forward, someone in the middle that could really help space these guys out. So if Dallas can do that, I think they're setting themselves for a very good summer.
Yeah, I think they're big winners for me. So lots of big winners. Eastern Conference got a whole lot better today. Pelicans, my overall winner, but a lot more on that in a little bit. Magic, I thought the deal to get up their young point guard and let Markelle try to be what we expected Markelle to be, I thought that was a good deal as well. Big time losers, Lakers, have plenty more on that later. Sixers, I actually thought were a loser.
No way.
Rockets, they didn't get any better. They just tried to stay under the tax.
They did get Shumpert.
They did get Shumpert, which they need a defender. So for that, I do like. And Wizards, big time losers.
Yeah, my winner is the Sixers, who you had as a loser. They're going all in. They're trying to get to the finals this year. And my loser's the Lakers.
Yeah, well,
not much to say on that one.
Can't wait for that. But stay tuned. We got All-Star Weekend right around the corner with the draft coming up tonight. So stay tuned. We are going to cover what to expect from All-Star Weekend. Stay tuned. We got more NBA for you.
Be right
coming
back.
up.